Hello, everybody. It's good to see you. So last year I was at Walmart. I was walking by and I looked and there was Scotty Ray and his wife with a grocery cart. And I said, "Hello, Mr. Scotty Ray." And he said, "Hello, Mr. Henson." And I went, "Yes, he knows me." It's my claim to fame. Anyway, we're so happy to have Scotty Ray here. It's like he's omnipresent. He's everywhere at 2 a.m. and at 3 p.m. And so I just said, let's just ask him to come and tell us how he does what he does, and then just see what happens, because he is around a lot of stuff in Meridian, and we as the Neighborhood Watch, we're concerned about crime, safety, and things like that. So we want to get his take. So it's okay with you just talk, and then if you want to open it up to questions and see how you do. But I'm going to let you handle it. So
okay.
Y'all give the man a hand. We do have some city people here. Glad y'all are here.
Yeah, I brought some friends along with me, if y'all don't mind. I'll introduce them here in just a few moments. I sort of stumbled into this. A lot of you know me from my radio days. I was in radio for 25 years, and it all started, I think, in 1986. I stumbled in a radio station, wanted to do it, and I can still hear Van Mack telling me, "You're awful. Your voice is the worst I've ever heard." And he didn't hire me. And it was about 6 weeks later, he called me back. He goes, "I got this position. You can't talk, but if you'd be interested, I'd be willing to train you." So I jumped on it. And so I sat there at midnight and I punched buttons for probably 6 months, and they wouldn't allow me to talk. Eventually, as my life has always had these, I don't know what you call it, accidents, but things happened to where I got moved to the afternoon shift. And so I was just supposed to sit there and run it and not talk. Well, somebody got sick and I had to talk. Next thing you know, I got the job. Next thing, my numbers were better than the morning show. So then I got switched to the morning show. And God has blessed me throughout the years. I was in radio, like I said, for 25 years. I got out for a little while, and God led me back to this. So I always respect where I am. I am not without sin. I don't want anybody to sit here and think that Scotty Ray is not. When I hit my hand with a hammer, I do say an ugly word from time to time. You have to admit your problems, and I sometimes am not the saint that I'd like to be, or the man I'd like to be. We all live with sin. We just scrape it off and do the best we can and try to be example in the community. And that's when it comes to police. As a kid, you looked up to a police officer. Only the best of the best was a police officer. If he'd done something wrong to tarnish that bad, he was gone. He was not put up with. Now, I still have some agencies that are that way. I am extremely good friends with Neshoba County, Newton County, and I get calls from sheriffs often. "Have you seen my guys do this? Have they done something?" They just won't put up with it. The bar has changed over the last few years in Meridian, and we're hoping that the new administration will make some changes. Over the last 4 years, I've been shunned. I've been ran off scenes to where, well, they couldn't do that. They kind of made up the law as they went along as to the way they wanted it to be. My major trouble started when the mayor had a wreck, and I came up on the scene to do what I do, and they told me I couldn't be there. Well, everybody else was there. I said, "Well, why can't I?" Then they told me they'd put me in jail if I didn't leave. So then I sent in a FOIA for the body cam. Well, it didn't exist. And this just went on for the last 4 years. The last thing I remember doing, the chief that we currently have, and if she were here, I'd tell it to her face. The situation that happened over at the Hampton Inn, do y'all remember that? Where every police officer in 3 states was there. Well, I showed up to do what I did, and I was walking to the store to get a drink, and she got out of her Tahoe and told me I couldn't go to the store. And I said, "You know, this is a public place." At the end of the day, she didn't like me. I've been thrown off murder scenes. I met with the family of that couple, the elderly couple that were murdered. Y'all know that story. It was one of the most awful things that happened in Meridian. What I do is to inform, is never to embarrass anybody. If you make a mistake, it ends. I put my own brother on there. He got in some trouble. I put his face on there. He shouldn't have done it. He does it again, I'll put his face back on there. Last week, I had to put a police officer on there. And again, when you're accused, just like I do anybody that goes to jail, I put their picture, what they're accused of. Doesn't mean they're guilty, but that's just the way the law works, and I show it. Let's start off and talk about some numbers of where we are. And I wrote this down so I would have this right, because I keep up with everything that happens. So far this year, we are at 11 homicides in Meridian. We have had 30 people shot, so it'd be 41 total that have been shot. 11 of those 41 are dead. May was our second biggest month. Well, actually our biggest month. We had 12 people shot and 3 deaths. We had in June 8 shot and 3 murders. Now we're only coming up on July tomorrow. That's strong. That's a lot of people and senseless. Do y'all see police officers riding through your neighborhoods? Let me ask that. Do y'all see that anymore?
We see them in our neighborhood that they're pulling our driveway to catch speeders.
And that's roughly it?
Yeah.
Do y'all want them in your neighborhoods? Let me ask that.
We see them on Mosby Road quite a bit.
It's-
Going real fast.
I have seen that. They will go fast.
A lot. It's going real fast.
They don't want to get hit with bullets. They're trying to get this out. That is a very dangerous neighborhood. There is no other way to put it. Last year, just to give you some numbers here, let's go back about 4 years. In 24, we had 14 people murdered in Meridian. In 23, we had 12 murders, and for whatever reason, I didn't keep track of how many people. In 23, we had 12 murders and 53 people shot. Back in 22, 13 murders. In 21, and I know a lot of people like Chris Reed. When Chris Reed walked out of the office, we had 3 people that were deceased at that time. In between when he walked out and December of that year, ended up with 17 people dead. That was a lot. If you remember, right behind Anderson's hospital, we had 3 or 4 people murdered in a house. It was some type of gang situation. Maybe they were trying to purchase something that didn't go right. Can't bet my life on it, but it had all the earmarks there. And then back to 20, we had 15 murders. So we're averaging anywhere from 12 to 15 murders, no matter who the mayor is. The statistics show that. What we've had over the last 4 years is a lack of police officers. I can tell you, there have been times during the daytime and at night, we had 2 officers patrolling the streets of Meridian. And that's not enough. There's no way that 2 people can guard the city. And criminals are smart, y'all. They'll cause a distraction over here and then go rob over here. Was it last weekend to where the Dollar General was broke into, they busted the window out of the tobacco store at North Hills, and it seems like there was one other.
One other somewhere right in there.
Great Southern had the bullets.
Great Southern Bank.
Yeah, Great Southern, had they shot the window out of it. I knew I went to 3 places and it kind of runs together sometimes. That's a lot of crime overnight. And no one noticed it until after daylight. Now, I don't want y'all to think I'm blaming a police officer. I don't know where they were. They may not have known. They could have been tied up in something else across town. But it tells us we need somebody. Used to, and y'all tell me, Mike, Ted, do you remember, we used to have somebody that stayed in the police station overnight, an officer. We don't have that anymore. I can remember the police being called to the police station about a year ago because somebody was tearing the police station up. There was no cops in there. We've just taken a turn. I am very pro-police. I believe in police. I try to back them. There's nothing worse than a cop showing up to a scene and one person being there. One man cannot take on 10, 15 people. I can't tell you the times 4th Street in Meridian that a police officer shows up and he calls for backup. There's 80 people standing here. I'm by myself. I need backup. He can't handle that. It's a common thing in our city, the way that it has shifted away from respect for the law. I'm scared to death of a Challenger. I don't know about y'all. That seems to be the car, the pick of the criminal. Why, I don't know. I guess because it's a fast car. Being in highway patrol, you probably know the Hellcat. It's fast. And let me say this while y'all are looking here. As we talk about change coming to Meridian, we got a new mayor today. Sitting on the front row here is the guy that is going to be your new police chief. He comes to us from the Mississippi Highway Patrol, Malachi Sanders. Stand up and shake hand. I want y'all to meet this guy. This is the face that you're going to see. He and I don't know, what was that, 3-4 months ago we met? We sat down and talked for about 3 to 4 hours. And he does care. He cares about what happens, crime. And as he and I went over a few things, his head shook as much as mine did as to why things are. Sitting next to him over here, let me show this guy here. This is Michael Ted Evans. If y'all have not met the fire chief, he's a little bit of everything. We joke around and call him Chief Many Feathers because he's into everything. I went to a fire not long ago, what was that, about a year ago, in the edge there of Blackwater, Kemper County. Meridian helped out with that because of him. We had a death in that. He took his guys out there. Willing to do anything helping police, and that's what it takes is teamwork, and I got to thank him for that. Greg Morgan is going to be your new emergency management for the city. Is that the way to word it?
Director of Public Safety.
Director of Public Safety. It kind of all goes together, a training facility. And we're in the mess we are because no one's trained. We have so few police officers, they haven't been able to take them off the street to train them because they had nobody to put in their place. So Greg's job is to teach everybody to hold a pistol. And I know y'all are asking, has anybody shot at anybody in the police station? Yes, they have. There's about 3 that took out their gun and shot the wall of the police station. I was talking to a guy a while ago, he said he went. Thank God I'm okay. And it is lack of training to where they would take their gun out and try to take a bullet out and it would fire. Not knowing how to handle a Glock. That's kind of, you got to know what you're doing, and they just need proper training. Again, I am not trying to make the police look bad. I don't want y'all to think that. I have a lot of dear friends that are out there, and they risk their lives like nobody else. And as we watched in the news this week, firefighters. What can you say if a firefighter shows up and they get shot at? We have people like that. There have been standoffs here in Meridian. We do, and one thing that I want to see happen, I can't tell you how many times we've seen a crime happen. The suspect runs off and you never hear who it is or what it is. Don't y'all want to know who it is that might be running by your door that's dangerous? And I want to build a bridge with the police department to where we know not 2 days later who the suspect was, but within 15 minutes of who that was and be looking for, where the public can call and go, I see him in my backyard, or I saw him get in a car. I think that the community working together with the police will make a change. And they can't do it without you. They need you just as bad. We haven't had an administration that believed in that. And I don't want y'all to think I'm running police down by any means. But I've watched things that just didn't make sense to me. When we lost Officer Kroon, one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever seen. I watched a mayor not allow the fire chief, it wasn't this man, would not allow the fire chief to drive the fire truck down and fly the American flag at his ceremony. Would not allow it. That happened. And told him if he showed up with the truck, he would be fired. That is not gossip. It's 100% the truth. I hate that. We got one of our finest walking in here. Officer Moody, how you doing tonight?
Thanks, sir. How you doing?
Man, good.
Hey, Keith.
Let's talk about what I consider, or let me ask y'all first before I get into my numbers of what I've seen. What do y'all consider the highest crime rate in Meridian? What area of town would it be? Village?
There's no place safe in this town.
Well, that is true.
Highway 11 and Fifth Street.
There's no place safe.
I consider, and I kind of put it, and y'all are 100% right. I put Highway 19 all the way up to Village Apartments, taking in 5th Street as the #1 highest crime rate that we've got here. It's always something going on. We've got, 3 to 4 stores that didn't even open back up because they got robbed so many times. That Exxon, that was just...
The bank closed.
Yeah, the bank just closed.
2 service stations.
Yeah, the Exxon and then one right there at 20th.
The super stop on 19.
Break time.
Yeah, break time, what it is now. And then even, was it the old place down there on Fifth Street, Cameron's, isn't it closed now?
Yeah.
You know, those were, I used to go there and eat, they had those plate lunches. But boy, you go down through there now, you might not leave a hubcap, sorry your life.
Even Parlay House, please.
Yeah, the Parlay House closed.
Joe's fixing to close his place down.
Is he?
Mac truck, yeah. So-
Just to go. He's been hit with bullets so many times. But when was this, and y'all remind me, where it was about 200 rounds fired down that street, where they walked down the streets with ARs and fired. It was about 200 rounds fired at homes down through there. And dared anybody to open the door, they'd shoot them. That happened. Dangerous, dangerous. We have had several murders in that area. What do y'all think the second place is? What area of town would y'all move as being the second dangerous?
The Eastern Garden area.
Eastern Gardens? I rank it a little lower now.
Red line.
Red Line? North Hills is where I put it. We have, do y'all realize we had a man executed on the side of the street in North Hills there where the 4-lane starts? Shot 50 times? This was what, 2 years ago? He was standing there at that produce stand. He was building there and they unloaded. It was unreal. Y'all remember that? 50 rounds, I don't know if he was hit that many times, but it was about 50 rounds fired there that day. It was a bunch. Right as you come in where the produce store, what is the name of that? What's that, what is that store? It used to be Country Boy, yeah. But he was killed out there on the street. Yeah, that was a hit by all means, the execution. Then we had the 2 murders down the street of the elderly couple. Years back, we had the
old man.
Yeah,
The
and
flower first wife, he got executed in the parking lot.
and then not to mention just the regular shootings and crimes that go through there. And then I would go third area around Highland Park area. I rank that area as a number 3 now. Used to be that was the number 1 area. That's how crime has progressed on that. But I was told by the Meridian Police Department that I could not say Highland Park. I can remember standing, let me show y'all. I was standing here, Highland Park is there, and I got a call from the mayor's office that said I could not say that was Highland Park. I said, I can take my foot and touch it. He said, no, you're giving Highland Park a bad name. I said, the man is dead, I'm looking at it. I don't think they like me. No offense to you. I want you to know that. Just last week, I was asked to be escorted out of a building that I went into. All because I showed up. I didn't do anything wrong.
That won't happen no more.
I'm getting promises
Not in
here.
that building.
I don't understand it. Now, our 4th would be Eastern Gardens now. It is really, Dairy Queen used to be in that area, Dairy Queen all through there. Now, we still have robberies, but we have not had the amount of shootings from St. Francis all the way back over to Eastern Gardens there. It's relatively kind of mild in Eastern Gardens here lately. We get a fight every now and then, but it's not near what it used to be. It's as though they're picking different areas to go to. As you get anywhere behind Tractor Supply, be careful, and be careful. Do y'all remember, I had the video I posted, San Marcos Mexican restaurant. The guy's walking down the street, and the guy's up behind the bank. And he stands in the street and shoots at him 8, 10, 12 times, knocks the windows out of the tire shop, misses him each time, and the guy's running in zigzag. I ain't never seen anything like it. But this is the streets of Meridian. Did y'all ever think that it would come to this? I didn't. Now, I get tons of tips from people. Every day, I saw such and such. I saw somebody over there where that car was stolen. I have passed this information along. Nothing has been done with it. I think that's going to change at this point. It can be helpful if we as a community work with the police department to solve these crimes. I think we'll all be better in the long run. A change is coming, and I'm tickled over it. I want it to where you can get out to go into a restaurant and you don't have to worry about something happening to you in between there and that front door. Wouldn't y'all like to go back to that? I what type questions do y'all have for me? What is it that's in the back of your mind? I see a lot throughout the streets.
I don't know how you get to a scene before the police department ever gets there.
Because there's only two of them.
Really, true, cause you, no, I say 8 times out of 10, you're there before the police ever gets there.
I get a lot of calls and inboxes, as I was saying, through the community of this just happened. I've got a few trustworthy people that I can verify. And this is something that's gonna come out when we were talking about the parking lot out there. They had a bus today out at the prison. I ain't got all the details, but it's a fact. We've got some people that's been arrested in the higher ranking. There's a lot going on out there. I've gotten emails from inmates that said it's awful. Now, how they got their phone, I don't know. I guess that's what they got arrested for. It's the contraband, and that's what it's all about. I was telling Malachi, I had a prisoner tell me that they would put the drugs and things in the cooler and act like they were delivering food to the cells out of the cooler, and it was actually drugs that they were dispersing it within the prison. Can I prove that? No, that's what an inmate told me. But it's sure adding up to be exactly what the news is coming out of that.
Hang on, she works there.
Oh, so you may know a little bit more than I do.
I just know that God is answering prayers, so.
Yeah.
I'm the chaplain out there. There's a lot.
Bless you.
Yes, sir. A lot goes on,
But I'm not going to list names until I officially get it on paper. I'm just going to list a little bit later on that some officials have been escorted out of there, and there's a criminal investigation going on, and it is going on. So that is happening. One thing, and as Malachi takes over, we're going to see a difference in the police department. Anybody ever heard of the curve system? Well, the way that works is if everybody in here takes a test, we have 2 people that pass the test, and lo and behold, that's not your buddy. He didn't pass. So what do? You lower the standard so your buddy can move up the ranks.
That's been going on for years.
And that's what we've got right now. We've got, and I don't know the logistics. He's got to get into his job and find all this out. I don't know what, on the civil service side, where this falls, if you can make everybody retest. But I think the people that pass the test is, I don't want somebody flying my airplane that got curved on a test, do y'all?
No.
And that comes with police work. He's got to, or woman has got to be on their sharpest. And God bless them, there's police officers right now working 16 hours. And there is no way after 16 hours, because I get groggy into about that 14th hour where I can't see straight and I need a nap. You cannot make good decisions after working those long of hours. Truck drivers, they make them pull over after 8 hours, don't they? It's just common sense. But I also understand that we are under duress and we don't have a lot of officers right now. This all happened around COVID, to where it came very uncool to become a police officer. They were run down all over the nation. Y'all know what I'm talking about. It was bad. And nobody all of a sudden wanted to be a cop anymore. They were cussed at, spit at. It was like a Vietnam veteran coming home. It's just not good. We've got to change the way our society does things. Do y'all realize, and the main problem with this, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, the main problem with Meridian is we've left God out. We used to have a backup system to where grandparents caught it and they straightened the kid out if the parent was bad. Well, now the grandparents are 30 years old. There's nobody teaching anybody. And your household, your family is not going to be right without God. For the first time in America, we have fell below 50% that go to church and believe in God. Did y'all ever think that? I watched this little guy from New York this week jump up and down on, I can't even remember his name, and he said that the world should not have billionaires. Well, if you get out and you start a business on your own and you work your hiney off and you're successful, why should you give what you made to somebody else and they sit at home? It's just not fair. He wants to give New York away. Will he win? He could. He may win it. I remember watching Bernie Sanders and thinking, what is this man talking about? And now everything Bernie Sanders said is common. It just shocks me of what is right is wrong now, and what is wrong is right. It's in the Bible. And we are seeing that now. There will be a day, and y'all watch this, and whatever you want to call what happened on January the 6th in 2020, that Trump thing. Did y'all watch how over the course of the 3 to 4 years how they track those folks down? That is going to be used against Christians. That is coming to where if you say you are a Christian, you are arrested and thrown in jail or whatever is going to happen to you. That day is coming. We are, as a nation, that close to tilting in a direction that we'll never get back. But technology will. It will roll that way one day. They will hunt you down for professing your faith in Jesus Christ. And I don't want that to be a shock to you. There's technology out there that, whew. Now, as we talk about technology, I make a few people mad because I speak what I feel is right of the people. I think we have spent the city, and I don't think it was really anybody studied this. It was like, well, that's a great idea, spend it. $1.5 million or something close to that for a crime lab. I'm not so sure it's the way to do. Number one, if you have a crime lab at the police station, they've got to hire everybody to operate that. When up the street, we've got dispatchers that are there 24/7 telling the police officers what's around them. Crime center, is that what it's called? Crime center? I think the crime center, if you're going to have it, needs to be with the dispatchers who are telling the police officers where to go, what's following them, what they can see. Somehow or another, and all across the US of A, it's a little system where they read tag numbers. We don't even have that with this $1.5 million. Is it $1.5 million? Am I close? Anybody know the figure? 2 million? It's a lot of money. Tax dollars that are being spent on something that it's nice, it'll turn on if there's gunfire. But if you don't know where the criminal went, what good does that do? I think along with that, you've got to have a tag reader to where if they leave the county and come in here, you know where they are on 8th Street. That car went that direction. You could really cut back on it. It's all across the US of A. They make it to Louisiana. I can remember Clark County, Great Southern National Bank got broke into not long ago. At night, they came in there. They got a tag number. They ran the tag number. They stopped them at the Texas line, linked them right back there. It was that quick. Officers was on within 3 to 4 minutes. It's a good thing. It can save a life. Criminals don't want that, but it was not any research done into that before the money was spent. And we don't even want me to get into a $63 million courthouse tonight, do we? I miss that one, didn't I? But that's kind of the state of where we are.
So right now, and I checked this last month, in May, in June, the city had 115 positions where the budget was allotted for those employed positions, including about 40 or 50 policemen. The money's allotted, but they're not hired. And I've talked to several people, and some departments will put those in there to pad the budget and then never use them. But right now, I think we've got about 50-ish policemen.
No, but that is including people who have desk jobs that never
Right.
step, or they're either on medical leave too, correct?
We really need 100 or 80 or something like that, but it's in the budget for it. And like I said, right now, there's 115 positions in the city that are budgeted but not filled. And people will jump at us at the civil service and say, y'all aren't doing your job. If the workers will bring the employees to us, we'll hire them. We'll do the training and everything, the test and everything, and I think that's a bigger issue than just the police, but that is part of the problem with the police. Something we gotta deal with.
That is. Correct me. I always like to know if something is a rumor, it's a rumor. Tell me. I have gotten absolutely nothing back when I ask information from the city. We had a police officer. This happened, and you you can just sit there and act like you don't know what I'm talking about. Because you still got one day left of this current administration. But we had a police officer after a parade last year. They were riding four-wheelers back and forth down the street, and they got ready to put them up, went back to the police station. He got mad at them because they didn't park theirs. Then he commenced to tell them he was gonna kill them. So, I sent in Freedom of Information Act because I know there was body camera footage. It did exist. About 4 of them had it rolling. I was told it did not exist. So I sent a second request. I said, y'all sure y'all know what you're talking about? Oh yeah. After I called back, I made another call and said, I know without a shadow of a doubt. Then I got a letter that said, well, we downloaded it. So it's not on the body camera, so we didn't lie. He threatened police officers' lives. That's not good. This would be someone that I saw break down in the line of duty during a shooting. I'm not making fun of anybody, but all of us have jobs to do. And if you can't handle it, then it's not the job for you. If you have to take a suspect out and you lay on the floor and cry and roll around, that's not your job. It's not putting you down. You just shouldn't be doing that. I've been in positions that I had no business doing. You learn as you go what you should do. But at the end of the day, there hasn't been transparency over the last 4 years. Whenever I've requested information, I was told, no, I'm not going to make a statement. Do you have somebody on admin leave? Do you have someone that is accused of raping someone? No, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, I know, but I can't prove it. Accusations are accusations. I've seen sex scandals over the last 4 years. Some major ones that did exist. Finally, one person did get relieved of their duties. They were asking female officers for nude photos of themselves to keep their jobs, a female. Is that right? You think about that being your daughter, your wife going into a work environment like that. But I couldn't get a press release out of that. I wouldn't even get a mention. Now, do you plan on doing it? Because I put him on the spot here.
No, you're not. I can answer any question.
You know, when we get to someone's life, I feel that it's important. We've had press conferences that lasted maybe 60 seconds and then told you will be made leave if you ask a question. They're getting up here and they're going to say, and they didn't do that very well for 60 seconds. Will you at least address, I think you're going to do a press conference tomorrow, aren't you?
Absolutely.
So we're going to see a change and have a pipeline of knowledge to the best of what I'm understanding. He and I talked a lot. Greg's going to back him up, help him out. I'm excited about this. But we need to know when it comes to when somebody, trust me, I understand when there's information that you can't give out. During an investigation, there are certain factors that you can't say to the general public until you get it settled. But you can say, we had a murder last night, we're investigating this, we know this happened. If you saw something, please call us. I think that's not much to ask out of a police department. We just didn't get it. Anybody got any questions of anything that I've said?
Hey,
Nobody's want to move, are they?
not a question, but I do have something with the police
Yeah,
department. You call the police department now, and you get a recording. You know, press 1 for this, press 2 for this. I feel that needs to be changed, because half the time you press 1, nobody answers, press 2, nobody answers. By that time, that person's been dead 10 minutes
This is
ago.
911.
No, this is calling the Meridian Police Department, and nobody answers the phone. And, you know, then you press 2, trying to get somebody to answer the phone, and you don't get anybody answering the phone.
Yes, ma'am.
And I think that needs to change. If you want the public to get involved with the Meridian Police Department, they need to have a way to be in contact with the communities.
I totally agree, and that will change. I didn't know that was happening. Of course, administration hadn't changed
I know.
yet, but that will be fixed.
Yeah.
That will be fixed, and I appreciate you making that statement. There will be a lot of transparency.
Come on,
from-
stand up here a second. Yes, who will?
I want to say there will be a tremendous difference, especially when it comes to transparency. I plan on having quarterly meetings with the community, those individuals that want to be involved, and they have anything going on in the community they wanna relate to me or relate to the department, I will have those opportunities, as well as an email address and a direct phone line. So I will be transparent, and I will hold officers accountable, because that's how I am. I'm not somebody that's going to go in and sit on my hands. I'll be out in the field, working with the officers. I'm not going to be a 8 to 5 every day. I will be changing my schedule up here and there, trying to find those hot spots that you're talking about, being out in the community. That's what I plan on doing if I'm confirmed tomorrow. Any other questions? 'Cause I really want to get to the root of a lot of things that people have a problem with, and I'm glad to know that that's an easy fix for me. That's an easy fix. Yes, sir.
We've been hearing for about a year and a half now that they're gonna have this incredibly wonderful camera system.
Yes, sir.
Do you know anything about that?
No, I just been told a little bit about it. The officers that are already in charge, they've already set that up, and I can't tell you where they're actually going to be located. But I think it's a good thing. But there are some additional things as far as strategic intelligence and things from a camera standpoint that the Meridian Police Department is going to do also. So it's a lot of things that I plan on bringing in if I'm confirmed tomorrow. Yes, ma'am.
With that camera system, we were told that it was being monitored down on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Where is it gonna be monitored?
I can't, to be honest with you, I can't answer that as of yet. I know I was told that it was going to be down on the coast being monitored, but that doesn't make sense to me. That's kind of counterproductive, so I really don't know. But from a standpoint of me being in the position as chief, I can't see where that can benefit me unless they have real-time cameras that's really showing things right then and there. They have 3 to 4 to 5 people ready to make a call to Meridian. But it would be great if it would be in Meridian.
But we had some city council members who went down for that address, and the address was out there in the ocean, so. Isn't that right? The address is in the ocean. And so
I don't-
they all on a boat monitoring the camera. Now,
I can't address that because I don't know. I hope that's not the case. Yes, ma'am.
How well will you be able to work with dispatch?
Working with dispatch, I think is very easy. The easiest thing in the world to me is communication. If there's a problem, I like to fix that problem. I don't like the problem to linger on. So if the dispatch is having a problem from the standpoint of a scheduling or anything, I think the appropriate thing to do is talk to the leadership that's over the dispatches, find out what the problem is, if it's scheduling, whatever it is,
Well, let me
and
give
fix
you
the problem.
two examples. Christy was behind us. We encountered somebody trying to, give us trouble in the car. He got out and approached us, and we called 911. And the guy said, well, what do you want me to do about it? And I said, I want you to help, send help.
I get that a lot. I mean,
Okay.
a lot.
And then, this is from a reliable source, somebody had broken into somebody's shop recently. He had a gun on him, tried to call 911, and they hung up. That first time, he was not a priority and hung up on him. He called back, same thing.
I
So-
heard about that particular situation, I think, but Mike, could you help me? The sheriff's department, do they control the dispatches?
The dispatch is ran by the county. They actually have a 911 coordinator that oversees the dispatch. So, the sheriff really don't control it. It's controlled by this 911 coordinator that's over it. So, the city used to be involved in 911. I think 6 years ago they got out of it. You as a taxpayer, you still send your money, your tax money goes to fund 911. So, but the county does that, they run it pretty much by themselves.
Okay,
But they
but
don't.
wouldn't this, like, when you're in the city, you expect MPD to come?
That's right, yes ma'am, and then whenever that dispatcher told you that, you should have got his name and that should have been addressed, that shouldn't happen.
Well, I had a witness.
Yes ma'am, I understand, but no, that dispatcher should be helpful and friendly and try their best to get you the help that you're needing.
And another thing is, I reported a car that was in the woods close to where I live, and I gave them, I couldn't get the address because there was no house number there. I gave them the direct exact location of it.
Yes, ma'am.
And he told me if I couldn't give the address, then they couldn't send anybody.
And-
That's
that's-
not right. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Mike. That's a major problem. That's a major problem that we have to fix from on a county level or city level, whatever we need to do, whether it's talking to the E911 dispatch supervisor or sub or what, but we have to do that, and I will do that because I've heard that over this last month and a half that they can't get calls coming in because the dispatcher will hang up or somebody will hang up, and that's a major problem.
And, you know, I've been around law enforcement for a while. I was married to 2 policemen.
She's been around a long time.
A long time. He knows me.
Long time.
And when he told me that, I like to lost it, cause it wouldn't have happened like that.
We don't need to sit on this. We need to write letters. We need to be talking to someone. Mike gave you the right people to talk to, and we need to be writing letters to those people. I don't care if it's me. If I'm doing something that you think is immoral or unethical, you know, being in a position of public trust, we need to do what we can and what we're sworn to do. And if we're not doing it, we need to be out of that job.
You know, I mean, it was just, and then about 6 months after that, they had a car chase, and that was the Jeep Cherokee that was in the car chase.
That you
Yeah,
called.
that I called about.
I can say this, there will be a major change, a big transition, but a major change in Meridian PD law.
You know, I live in the county, but I'm barely in the county.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
I'm in the city all the time.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me say this about 911 real quick. They really need to add a couple more dispatchers, especially at night and during the, cause if you listen to the radio, I know Officer Moody can tell you this, that dispatcher on the PD channel is constantly talking. That poor fella talks all day long. I don't say how he don't have a sore throat. It's that many calls coming in at a time. Meridian PD is usually handling 4 or 5 calls at a time, and that dispatcher is trying to keep up with it all by itself. So I'm not taking up for the dispatcher,
Yeah.
but they really should have some help. They should add maybe another dispatcher up there to try to help cover calls, cause this is extremely busy. You got 4 dispatchers there trying to handle, Lauderdale SO, Meridian PD, the Meridian Fire Department, and they also catching calls from Metro Ambulance Service.
And Meridian.
And Meridian, and also catching calls from Meridian.
Volunteer fire department.
And the volunteer fire department, so they are extremely busy. If you could just listen to the radio one time, like if I cut my radio on right now, you hear somebody's talking. So they're extremely overwhelmed, really, is what it is, so, yeah. But it don't, there's no excuse for them telling you that on the phone, though. They should be cordial and friendly and try their best, so.
Do each, like Meridian and Marion and SO, do they all have their own dispatcher?
So Meridian PD usually has a dedicated dispatcher for them. You're gonna hear that gentleman or that lady, they're gonna be the ones that's constantly keeping up with Meridian PD.
12 hours.
Yeah, for 12 hours. Then you gonna have Lauderdale SO and Marion's gonna have a dispatcher. They're gonna be keeping up with that.
They cross-train?
They cross, yeah. But now, they're nowhere near as busy as Meridian PD. That poor dispatcher for PD he never catches a break. He don't ever get drunk a cup of water. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I don't mind writing letters, I don't mind making phone calls, in fact, I think that's my civic duty.
That's right.
But who is in charge at the county that I can write? I don't have a name. And the same thing happened to me when that lady up there said she called and you have to press all these numbers. That's happened to me, and remember I called you and I said, what do I do? And Bev said, call 911. And I said, but I had a tornado that came through and the trees came on my street and I was blocked in a month ago. And Bev said, call 911. And I said, but it's not an emergency. She said, yes, it is.
That is
You
an
can't
emergency.
get out and an ambulance can't get in.
That's
It
an
is an
emergency.
emergency.
Yes, ma'am.
So I ended up calling 911 because I couldn't get anybody. But I'm very willing to write a letter, go visit, go call, but I don't know who to go to.
You have a county supervisor. You live in the city, but you also have a supervisor that represents you on the county level.
Are they in that big fancy building that's near the highway?
That's $68 million.
I'm gonna say something.
It's a lovely, lovely, bunch of big
We
hallways,
have a
lovely hallways.
supervisor.
Well, you have a supervisor.
Yeah, we have a supervisor just because we have to vote for one, but it's sad when they tell you, well, you need to call the council person, you live in the city. Well, I live in the city, but I also live in the
You
county.
pay county taxes, you do, yes,
And I
ma'am.
pay your salary.
You're right.
That's right.
You're exactly right, so,
Yes, ma'am?
Well, he's next, he's been waiting to stand up.
Go ahead, sir.
I used to work for the power company, and, we had a system. If you saw something, you reported it. And you had all those eyes out there. We worked all over town, Meridian, you know, you got eyes everywhere, all over the whole city. And if somebody saw something, especially the meter readers, if they saw something, they wrote it down and reported it to somebody, and then they got with the police department and told them where the action was. The postman, that's the best eyes you can have in the city. They know where every drug deal, every bad deed, whatever's going on, they go there every day. And they know. And that may be something that can help y'all out with you,
Well, I plan on working with the community. We plan on working with the community. The police department, I don't know what's going on right now. I'm not gonna talk about the police department as for what they haven't been doing or what they have been doing. But I can tell you this, we will be doing some serious community policing, and that's part of it.
Yeah,
That's part of
yeah,
it.
that's,
Will you be the only chief of police?
Yes, ma'am. There can be only one.
I'm just making
I will,
sure.
if I can
Yes,
say
ma'am.
something.
Okay,
Go ahead, Ms. Beverly.
yeah. This happened about a year or so ago, and I got one part of it that really has annoyed me, since then, okay? It was a morning, I own the daycare right down here, Barbara Henson's, that's mine. And, anyway, it was this man, and he was homeless, but he was going car to car to my parents as they were coming in that morning, bringing their children, wanting money. And, anyway, one of my parents came in, and of course, I'm not gonna stand there and just let him do it. I went out there, of course, and, I told him he had to leave, and he told me he didn't have to listen to no white woman. And I said, well, you're gonna listen to this one. And so, anyway, I had somebody call the police, and while I was out there, and he threw me up against the door. So the police came. Here's the part that annoyed me, okay? They said that, and I could see him, he was standing right there, and I told him, I said, there he is. They said, we can't do anything unless you go down and file a complaint. I said, you mean I've gotta leave my business and go down there and file a complaint? Which I did, along with Sharon at the Dollar General, cause he'd already been making up a mess up there too. So we both went, and we both wound up in court, and he didn't show up, of course. But the thing was this, I mean, that I had to leave my business and go down there and do that while he was still standing there. Well, at the time, I had Billy Solly's grandson, and I called him, and the sheriff's department came and got the man immediately, and he was a sex offender. So, anyway, that's the kind of thing, and we deal with that a lot down here, okay?
Yes,
I mean, it's constantly somebody trying to get money out of people, but, you know, I'll not have to go file a complaint now, because that took a lot of time to do that, and then I had to sit in the courtroom, and it was interesting, you know, for that 3 hours that I sat there. But the fact of the matter is, I mean, they need to be where they can just pick them people up and get them out of there.
Yes, ma'am, I agree, especially in your, because you were assaulted. There
Yes.
should have been some paperwork that officer had where you would have been able to fill out that paperwork right then and there. I don't know how the city does that, but, we can get that fixed.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yes, sir.
Chief, you were a retired state trooper, is
Yes,
that
sir.
correct? I don't mean this with any disrespect. Will you need to go through any training, or are you already gonna be certified as soon as you get there?
I love saying this, and this is not being cocky or anything, but I served 30 years on the Highway Patrol, and I made it up to the top of the Highway Patrol as Deputy Director. My leadership, from the start of being in the United States Marine Corps, serving in Operation Desert Storm and Desert Shield, going on all the way up through the ranks of the Highway Patrol, being meritoriously promoted from Master Sergeant, Lieutenant, Captain, and Major, and really Lieutenant Colonel. That gives me the leadership qualities to be an executive in law enforcement. Not only that, I don't have an ego. I'm humbled enough to serve in this capacity. And when it comes to training, this is what's really what I really wanted to say. State law is state law. On the city level, on the state level, being a state trooper, and on the county level. All of us enforce state laws. The only difference is jurisdiction. Jurisdiction is the only difference. I was a state trooper in the entire state as far as law enforcement. City of Meridian, the city of Meridian. Only difference, ordinances. I have to learn the ordinances that encompass the city of Meridian. That's it.
Okay, good.
Yes, sir.
I got it.
Did I explain that?
Yeah.
A lot of people have a big misconception when it comes to state troopers, deputy sheriff, city cop. We all enforce state laws. Legislatures write up the law, we enforce the laws.
In the past, we've had people put on the position that then had to go train.
No, sir.
Okay,
No, sir.
good.
And trying to-
Glad to hear
Since you brought that up, what right do I have if somebody's breaking in my house or doing something on my property? Do I have a right to you know what
Lethal force is what you're getting.
I hadn't been confirmed to tell you my real truth to that answer. So I wanna be, I should say diplomatic yet, saying the right thing. You have a right to defend yourself and your property. You do have that right. So that's the nicest way I can say it, without being, you do have a right to defend yourself and your property.
If you feel threatened.
Yeah.
Council doctrine says if you feel threatened,
If you feel
if you feel threatened, you got the right to defend your life and your
Are
property.
are you afraid if somebody come on your property and you don't know if they have a gun?
If you
Come
threaten,
in the house,
Yeah.
break in the house.
You don't have a right to chase them down the street.
No. Please don't, please don't.
And correct me wrong on this, excessive, if you were to, someone break in, you shoot them once and the gun goes off twice, you can't get another clip and then go up and finish 15 more rounds. That makes sense.
Any other questions for me? I hope I answered all of them. And please don't hesitate to ask me any questions if I'm confirmed tomorrow. Go ahead,
You
ma'am.
said you're the only chief, you're gonna have somebody working with you, right?
Yes, ma'am. But
Who's working
as far
with
as
you?
the chief executive, I'm
Who's the
the,
chief executive?
I am.
I mean, who's the next person?
The person under me will probably be the assistant chief that we go through some, tests, well, not necessarily tests, some interviews. And I talked to the mayor and decided that there's a assistant chief that I wanna put in that position. But right now, I gotta be honest with you. Everybody in the department, including myself, will undergo a performance review. I don't believe in going in and just appointing somebody to something, appointing somebody to this, giving somebody this just because they feel entitled. I don't believe in entitlement. I believe you do the work. You put the boots on the ground and you do the work. And that's what I'm about, because nobody has given me anything. God has blessed me to the point where I'm at. And I just worked hard.
I think to further answer your question, there's not going to be a Benny Dubose in this administration. I'll go ahead and say that.
I can't say that.
Let's talk about that later, you and me,
Yes, sir.
because there's procedures for doing things like that.
Yes, sir.
I want to say this real quick, and I'm gonna sit down. Meridian Police Department has some very good police officers down there.
True.
Very good. They work hard, they put their life on the line. I've seen them get shot at. I've seen them sit there and shoot back like they're supposed to defend the people of Meridian. All they've been wanting is to get out and work and do their job, and that's all they really ask for. I'm excited about the next year or two. I think Chief Malachi is gonna do a good job to bring the leadership down there to change some things. I'm excited about that. I look forward to working with him and look forward to working with Mr. Morgan. I've always worked with police officers since I've been here, and that's how I know it's some good police officers down there. And I really believe you're gonna see a positive change over the next year at Meridian PD. And I'm gonna finish this. Y'all got one heck of a fire department though.
Yes, sir.
Yes, you had mentioned earlier about, having a telephone, personal telephone number. Will we be given a point of number to contact?
Yes, sir.
Because in the past, you call numbers and no one picks it up.
Not only that, I will be out in the media, of course, with Scotty Ray and with WTOK and any other outlet. I will be talking about that, and I'll be giving my information, my email address, and my city phone number out to anybody that want to call me and talk about anything that's going on in their community. That it? Y'all had easy questions. Thank you.
Good luck tomorrow.
I believe in love. I believe in God, Father. Believe in
You know, and I don't know how this works, but as Chief Evans was talking about the fire department, y'all, when's the last fire that you heard that you didn't hear a fire truck there within 3 to 4, 5 minutes at max? That's late for these guys. They're on the job and they do a wonderful thing. And I don't know if you can divide the police department up to where it works similar to the way the fire department does, but those guys are there.
So we have a standard at the Meridian Fire Department that we try to have one truck at your house within 3 minutes. By the time you call 911, our guys are gonna be out the door in that truck within a minute, and they're gonna try to be there within 2 minutes. Now, it's not gonna be every truck, but now we have 7 stations across the city spread out. So we try our best to have a truck there within 3 to 4 minutes, or something's wrong if they're not there. So that's the standard. I believe I ain't gonna speak on behalf of the chief, but if he gets plenty of police officers hired, he gotta get them hired first, and yeah, you could spread them out across the city, and the same thing would happen there. So, but I'm gonna let him talk about the police department. That's our standard at the Meridian Fire Department. We feel like we should have a truck there within 3 to 4 minutes, regardless.
Thank you.
And those guys do. I'm with them. I spend more time with these guys than I do with my wife. And I mean that. Father, Greg's gonna be taking over the training facility and doing anything that you wanna add to this? Step on up.
I got a question.
All right, what's the question?
Do you have any statistics on the homeless situation?
Homeless is awful. Statistics, I do not. We have had, folks, we got people going to the bathroom, and when I mean, I'm talking about number 2 on the streets, City of Meridian, right in doorways, people.
Downtown,
Yeah,
by
down, why?
That's by the little hut down there.
And the only problem with that is the vagrancy law was repealed back in 2015, and I don't know when the legislatures are going to write up any new laws on vagrancy, but the city of Meridian do have ordinances that we could, of course, do what we can as far as vagrants. But the biggest thing is working with the mental institutions and the institutions that help out with the homeless situation.
Yeah. I've already talked with some attorneys that work with the city. We're gonna try to get an outline on what we can do, and work with Mississippi and these other outlets that work with, most of them have mental problems. So you don't want them in jail, because that causes a whole another set of problems. So we wanna come up with some training, for the police officers, so they'll know how to handle it, so they'll know who to call. And, I'm like Chief Sanders, I'm on, if confirmed tomorrow, they'll have a number, they call me 24/7. We'll all have city phones, and, we'll direct them where to go. But, right now, it's pretty out of control in certain areas of the city. I've got, friends of mine that own businesses that says, look, we're on the verge of closing. A lot of them say that we closing at 6 or 7 o'clock at night because they're just afraid for their employees. They can't get employees to come to work because people are harassed. They're doing awful things. And, downtown, a lady had a bakery a few years ago, and, she closed it. She was from Tennessee. She wasn't used to all this. And, she closed it because she couldn't get any help. And, I talked with, Alec, Purvis today, down at Jean's, where we went out after the ceremony, and he's having all kind of problems. And this is downtown. This is where everyone comes to the 3 foot, and, you know, it's a bad scenario, and you have to have somewhere to take them. It's easy to load them up and haul them off to the police department, but then what are you gonna do with them? So you gotta have some beds. And years ago, I worked with the Department of Mental Health. Dr. Martinez would always, if we have an emergency, we could call Dr. Martinez and he'd give us a bed. And I don't know if they have that situation now or not, but you have to have trained people to deal with them. I started out working at East Mississippi State Hospital when I was 18 in security. I worked there till I was 21, then went to the police department. Then I went to the Bureau of Narcotics and worked my way up in the ranks there. And retired. I got about 28 and a half years or so of service. But we've got contacts in Jackson. Chief Sanders got contacts in Jackson. I know Michael Ted's got contacts in Jackson. So, you know, we're gonna work and try to fix whatever problems we have, and we're gonna work close together, and everybody's gonna work as a team and try to solve some of these problems. Everybody that comes to work with me will be law enforcement. They'll have a certificate and have some training. Well, they have a lot of training to come out there. So we're gonna try to make it better, and I just hope for the best. You know, we're gonna work with the community, and we're gonna do a lot of this in the community. Mayor and city council's behind it, and we've had their blessings on everything so far.
With that being said, what he just said there, do y'all realize the people that pass through Meridian get their cars broke into? Do you know every hotel, 1072 a car, they've broken into somebody that's passing through our town? It's all the time.
They're running these motels.
Yeah, and it will be to where everybody goes, oh crap, there's Meridian, let me just keep going. We don't need that. So we've got to deal with that. And I'm probably fixing to hurt somebody's feelings, what I'm fixing to say, but it needs to be said. It's great to help people. We feed a lot of people in this town. It is known throughout the country, Meridian, Mississippi, this circle. It's free food. Go live there, they'll take care of you. We are, is the word enabling? Is that the word?
Yes.
We take care of them, we feed them, there's no reason to leave, and they do what they do on our city streets because of Laurel, and I know this, drives them to the truck stop and throws them out.
Yep.
They do that.
Yes, they do.
Yep.
And if they're doing it, others are doing it.
Yep.
Now, used to, what the police would do, if they broke up a gambling outfit, there was $40 left on the ground, they put it in a little fund, they gave somebody a ticket to go wherever they needed to go, get them out of here. We need a big bus ticket.
That was in the 80s.
Big support German Shepherd.
There you go, Mr. Glenn.
Todd Kemp told me, I don't know if y'all know him or not, Todd Kemp said that he got out, he went somewhere and they wouldn't listen to him. And the back door of the patrol car opened, that dog got out, and he said everybody paid attention. And the consensus was the dog didn't know anybody's rights. He just knew somebody was doing wrong. With this being said, I'm trying to remember, this breaks my heart. We lost a dear, dear friend today. Barry White, he was the chief deputy of Clark County, passed away today. He was barely 51. I've never seen, we were all going out to eat 8 months ago. We were gonna meet at Outback, and he called and said, my back hurts, I can't make it. The next day he was paralyzed and never walked again. He was cancer is what got him, and it ate a hole in his backbone and paralyzed him. What he died from today was basically gangrene from laying in a bed of bed sores, and it took his life. He was a good man. He was never scared to use a taser, I'll say that.
Or gun.
Yeah, he would use it. But y'all think of him and his, he was a dedicated man to his job. He never married, he loved that job. He's got a sister, and I have watched, a man is measured by his friends. I have seen people, and now you gotta remember, if you're paralyzed, what goes on. He's had dear friends stay there, change his clothes, sit with him at night. They weren't family, they were friends that took care of him for the last 8 months. And that says a lot. So just keep that in mind of people that pass on, that give their life to protect you. They're out there. I'm gonna close with this. Go ahead.
Before you close, I want to ask you, do we have any areas in Meridian for our homeless population?
To go to?
I mean, to go to for a fresh shower, change of clothes, stay overnight, things like that.
Frontage Road?
Keith, do they have that place still on Frontage Road over by?
I got the South Harbor. It's
Right,
still-
South
it's the-
Harbor, over
It's
there
the
by the-
only place that's left open. in
Right.
Meridian.
So I didn't know that.
But they have certain requirements that they ask of their folks. You have to have an ID, an identification. They're getting a lot stricter of letting folks in.
So the Red Cross,
Red
they
Cross.
closed, they're down on B Street, didn't they?
Salvation Army on B
Yeah,
Street is
Salvation Army.
closed.
That's what I mean, Salvation Army.
It's all closed down.
That's why I was gonna tell you, a lot of times Multi County open up, especially when it's cold and stuff, they have rules and regulations that they're supposed to follow. Well, nobody will go there because they don't wanna follow the rules and regulations.
They don't have an ID.
Yeah, they don't have they don't want no part of it. That's the same way Officer Moody was talking about the other places. If you have rules and regulations for them to follow, they're not gonna show up. So, when it got to 10 degrees last year, nobody went to Multi County because they didn't wanna do what they were supposed to
As
do.
long as the truck stops and drop them off.
That could be.
I know during Katrina, my husband and I volunteered a lot, and they were housing people at the Frank Cochran Center. Some people came from areas with dogs, and pets weren't allowed inside, and so they prefer staying out with their pet. And then some of them, they tell you not to smoke, or they don't wanna follow the rules.
That's true.
But that's a mental condition, so that's why I was wondering if we had any places where we can get some places where we can house some of our homeless people.
I know that, if y'all watched, did anybody watch that video that I did behind Walmart?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
There's more than that, there's more places just like that.
To walk through there is unreal. Did you see it?
Yeah, I saw it.
It's, yeah, it's like it's another town down in there.
Yeah.
And while I was there, I wanna say there was a sex offender that was arrested in there. They just checked 2 people. It's some bad, these are not, we see on the news, oh, we take care of it. There's some bad people that are in this town that come here to do harm. The person that killed that elderly couple, they were that way. And
You never heard anything about that though.
And I don't know all that I'm fixing to say here, but when people get out of prison, they're dumped at the train station and they're supposed to buy a ticket to leave town with a cell phone. Well, they ain't got no cell phone. What do you think they do? They walk the streets of Meridian. We have these housings for halfway houses, I guess is what it's called.
Halfway out of the group homes here in Meridian.
And how do we get rid of them? I don't know. But they are living amongst us, I think is the word to say. I know we're supposed to love all God's children, but if you don't abide by the rules, then you got to go. That's my opinion on that. Any other questions for anybody? Y'all are pretty good. I kind of like y'all. I really enjoyed talking to y'all tonight. I had someone ask me one time, and I made a couple of notes about this, for advice. If you're making the right decision in life. Have you ever had to ask other people's opinion before you do something? You know what I mean by that? I can remember I was about 14, I was getting ready to go out on a hot date, and I put on a shirt, and it had a stain down here, and I went up to my sister, I said, does this look okay? She said, you know you can't leave with that shirt on. I knew the answer before I asked her. I was fixing to make the wrong decision by doing this. You ever been driving down the road and try to talk yourself into something? And argue with yourself? I've done it. Come on, Scotty. Oh, if you have to convince yourself to do it, you're about to do something wrong. Now, after you have made this decision of what you're going to do, how do you feel uneasy? Like if you were having your buddy, if you decided after you done driven around, done this, and you're in the act of doing it, would you feel uneasy with your friends seeing you do it? And if that question is, yeah, I would, you're doing something wrong. And the final thing to really decide if you're doing something wrong is, would you want God to see you doing it? Think about that. After you done convinced yourself of doing this big thing that you've argued with yourself, would you want God to see you doing it? And if the answer is no, you're messing up. And that really describes life. I have been granted an extension on life. It's been 6 years ago now. And it's hard to believe. I had quadruple bypass surgery. I was 50 years old, and you just get tired. And I'd sit down and have to rest a little bit. I've never been to a doctor in my life, and so I finally had to go get checked out. And so they sent me to the hospital. So I had to stay up there 2 weeks because they didn't have enough surgeons. And so I paced back and forth every day. And the day finally come, and I'll never forget how I messed up. She brought this gel in there and told me I had to take a bath in it. and to be clean for surgery. Well, I went in and done it. You know what I done? I took a bath with mouthwash. I grabbed the wrong bottle, so I had to redo it. That was downright embarrassing. The next day, they've taken everything I got. They gave me this little gown, and all I had left in this world was this wedding ring here. I've been married 35 years this year, and it's never been off my hand. And I remember that little nurse standing over me, and she told me that she was gonna take that ring off. I said, no, you're not. She said, yes, I am. I said, no, you're not. Me and her argued. I woke up 3 days later, and I didn't have that ring on. And the moral to that story is, it don't matter how much money you got, how little you got, you are not leaving this world with one item. And my life has changed since that moment, since I realized that when I was laying there on that table looking up. It was all over. There was nothing that I'd accomplished that I was gonna leave with. It is not worth arguing with people over material things. There's a place we're going that it will matter. That's where your reward is. Just keep that in mind. Again, now I'm a sinner. I make mistakes and I try to make them right. But thank y'all for having me tonight. I appreciate it. Yes, sir. Enjoyed it.
And he still don't take care of his.
Back, so I always try to plan ahead in September, and I'm gonna give y'all 3 dates, Monday, September 8th, 15th, or 22nd. We're gonna have Terrell Thompson, and he's gonna come talk to us about zoning, tearing down houses, trash on the side of the road. Are y'all interested in dealing with that kind of stuff? Yes. He is. Well, no, he's the code enforcer. His brother is a policeman. And it's Terrell, this is Terrell. So he's gonna be here for that. That's September. Well, I don't know.
Just say twin.
If somebody else wants to do it, okay. Then, and then I've got, and we go every other month, so that's September. And then November, I've got 3 guys right here that we can invite back to see how they're doing. And we've got the mayor and the city council that we can invite. So we've got the year planned. We can invite them. And I don't want to invite Tracy Timms, who's our new city council member. I'm gonna let him be there about 6 months or a year so he can really know what it's like. Because if he comes now, he'll tell us what he's gonna do. I want to hear what he's done. So we'll invite him, but we're gonna let him get his feet wet first. And so is the 8th, 15th, or 22nd of September, any of those dates? Are those, that's a Monday. And that's not, it's a week after Labor Day. And then if anybody, let me know if you have a problem, because I'm gonna go ahead and set it up with Terrell. He's already told me he would do it, and I told him I'd let him know which day.
And you're doing that in September?
September? Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Put it on the 8th.
Okay, is the 8th okay? September 8th, that's okay. It's the week after Labor Day, everybody ought to be back in town. So we'll plan on tentatively doing that on September 8th. I've also got Officer Moody, who is over the Neighborhood Watch, like him to do a program as well. So we got the year covered, so we're in good shape as far as that.
I'm gonna start out in January about the fire department.
Yes, I do want to talk, we do want to do a fire department thing. Do you have is there anything else you'd like us to deal with? You got any subject matter you want us to cover? I mean, we've done a lot tonight.
I just want to say that I thank those elected officials. I'm so proud of this year and what, anticipation for the future. And I pray to God they get together and come up with the funds and talk about hiring other people, whether they're dispatchers or additional police officers, and have them properly trained. And thank you so much for you all taking out from your busy schedule. That chief of police, I saw him today and invited him, and he asked me to give him a while. So then I look up and see him here. I saw you on the 3rd floor.
So is either your influence or Scotty Ray's?
And I thank you.
You invited me today?
I invited you today. We were on the 3rd floor of the city hall.
Okay.
Want me to give you a while?
Okay. Oh, as far as the speaking, that's what I thought you were talking about.
Yeah.
But I had to do it anyway.
You did. Thank you.
Well, I do want to thank Scotty Ray. He shared a testimony, and he's right. Jesus is the only answer. So we always trust him. But anyway, Scotty, thank you for doing that.
Enjoy.
I was at, and he can't get any rest. I was at Chick-fil-A, and I pastor 2 churches. The other church is Mountain View Baptist Church. And our Wednesday night group meets at Chick-fil-A at 7 o'clock, and we study the Bible. Look up, and here comes Scotty Ray. So I run out there and ask him if he would do this, and he said he would. So thank you for being a part of that.
Anytime.
And I also invited Cash and WTOK to come watch us talk about you, but they didn't come. So. We will get them eventually. Okay, is there any word before we go? We're going to have prayer, and then we're going to be done. Lord, thank you for everybody being here. Thank you for our community and our neighborhood. And Lord, we want to live safe, quietly, godly lives. And I pray that you help us to trust Jesus, to trust the police and fire and all of the people of the office and the offices that they have, but also to hold them accountable. Help us to do all we can to honor you. And thank you for everybody here and for our city. Pray for a bright future. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. Thank y'all, everybody.